Hello, my name is Patrick Moreno. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Zyxel Communications, here to talk about fixed wireless access, broadening old challenges with fixed wireless access and CBRS. Unlike the old days of CB radios, CBRS is quite different. CBRS is Citizens Broadband Radio Service. It's a frequency range from 3.5 to 3.7 that's been opened up by the FCC for public use. It operates in this range of LTE band 48 from the 3.5 to 3.7 with additional LTE bands, LTE band 42 and LTE band 43. The big benefits of offering CBRS, it's a great alternative to a wireline internet connection. Distances from 5 to 20 miles in some cases. The LTE devices connect to the base station with line of sight and directional antennas, as well as Omni, and maintain that subscriber's fixed wireless environment with remote management options. Frequency has been opened up for public use by the FCC in 2015 to allow public use of these frequencies that are not quite used all the time. We've seen recent auctions for CBRS and allowing those in this third tier to actually move up and have their own slice of spectrum and being able to offer that to their subscribers who are interested in utilizing fixed wireless access and CBRS. Currently, right now, there's quite a slew of products that already are supporting CBRS and allow them to access this private LTE network. Auction winners have come from many different areas in our industry. The traditional fixed wireless and cable providers, as well as electrical co-ops, real estate, big energy, and industrial machines and farming equipment have also joined into the auction and purchased their own spectrum. With the spectrum, it allows people who purchase it based on a county by county basis. So you can see from this illustration, many different areas can be purchased and utilized for using the CBRS and accessing that priority access license area or the second tier. Secondary markets will also develop. So there are players who purchase spectrum and not really going to use it. They will eventually either sell this off in a secondary market or possibly lease it to others who want to use this spectrum for wireless access. So where is CBRS? Right now, it's still emerging. We'll really kind of see it in coastal areas on the west or the east, and in some central portions where we see some military naval bases that may use this for testing. But until all the auctions are complete, then we'll start to see these networks start to develop and then pop up in these applications or programs where we can see the actual base stations. So what can you do right now? So if you're interested in getting into CBRS, and you need a device, obviously, and you want to set up your own private LTE network. So you're going to look for some items here. First of all, you're going to need some frequency to be able to operate. And whether you have purchased some or you want to lease some and set up your infrastructure, you'll need to be able to do that. Despite some of the auctions already being completed, you still have some opportunity to participate. Again, looking at some of those spectrum winners and see if you can share some of that spectrum with an agreement, or look on that secondary market to see if you can purchase something. That gives you the ability to become a mobile virtual network operator. And depending on how much service you want to offer, gives you the ability to jump in this market and offer those services, whether it's you're reselling, you offer some services, some support, or you offer quite a bit and you're just connecting to that LTE CBRS network. So this is all managed of the CBRS through what we call a Spectrum Access System, or SAS. And this keeps track of all the different tiers, as you can see, tier 1, 2, and 3, and the different entities that are involved. The whole design of the SAS system is to prevent interference from different signals and disrupting the service. So it keeps track, and it works off a priority system. So that way that if you're in the third tier and the priority 2 in its second tier, or an incumbent in the tier 1 needs that specific spectrum, they can utilize that and basically just place you in hold until they release it. In most cases, since it's in its infancy, there's not going to be probably that much interference in the beginning. And if you have a third tier device, the general authorized access, then you can freely access this as a kind of like unlicensed wireless system. How the SAS system works for the tier 1 and tier 2 and those devices that support that, that device will go ahead and make a request into the Spectrum system, the SAS. From there, the SAS system is going to do an inquiry and see if it can allocate some spectrum for you to use. Your device will go ahead and use that spectrum until it's completely done, where it disconnects. And then that same spectrum can be recycled and used by others who do connect to the SAS network. The CBRS and the full ecosystem of devices are two kind of categories that we look at. The CBSD, that's the Citizens Band Service Device, and there's two categories, a category A and a category B. Category A meets a specific criteria and can be used indoors and outdoors up to a specific amount of height, where the category B can up to 50 watts and is only available for outdoor use and requires a certified installer to set it up. In the third tier is the end user devices. These are the devices you can go freely purchase on any e-tail store or online, or a provider that will give those to you as part of the service. That could be smartphones, laptops, tablets, push-to-talk devices, LTE gateways, security cameras and sensors, even dongles, modems, and modules. Categorization for the CBRS devices, as we talked about, the category A, they meet a specific requirement. They can be indoor, outdoor, and they can't go over certain specifications or output level. Category B is a little bit different, where it's not allowed for indoor use and needs to be placed outside and does require a professional installation when set up. The end user devices have a specific amount of output, 200 milliwatts or 23 decibels. So this doesn't interfere with the tier 1 or tier 2 devices. It can freely connect into the network and doesn't require SAS to manage the device and tell it where to connect to. With the two category A and category B devices, they do really require a certified professional installer. This person does understand the FCC Part 96 rules and is accustomed to setting up these devices and knows the specifications required. So that is why the category A and category B require that. So CBRS has many different applications that can really enhance that support and deliver services for your subscribers with a fixed wireless environment, for cable operators, hospitality, private LTE, and utility energies. We're looking at Internet of Things, residential and industry, as well as security and surveillance, commercial purposes, residential monitoring, agriculture sensors can really benefit from utilizing CBRS. So taking a look at the private outdoor LTE, some of those high-level benefits, again, great alternative for a wireline connection. Also, works over the air and helps with those rural underserved broadband applications. Great distances from 5 to 20 miles. Outdoor enclosure helps protect the device so you can set it up and allow it to survive in harsh, extreme environments. Interop testing with leading SAS vendors that are out in the market, as well as certified by the FCC and the CBRS as an on-go program, and does provide the local and remote management capabilities built into the device. Excellent applications. You'll see outdoor public venues that we can see as well as outdoor activities, fishing, hiking, camping, education environments like campus, as well as single-family residential. The CBSD deployment application, very simple from that CBRS network where the SAS system relies, connects to the base stations, and then in turn connects to that outdoor LTE CPE in that Class B category and interconnects in the single family home or multi-dwelling or business. And then you feed that off to any type of residential Wi-Fi gateway. In this example, we're using a Wi-Fi 6 to provide performance throughout the whole network there. How that works is from that base station, it'll broadcast a signal and connect to the CBSD CPE, and that also in turn broadcasts to the station. From that device, that CPE, it'll connect into the home via Ethernet and then connect to a Wi-Fi residential gateway and provide connectivity within the home without having the traditional hardwired connection. With the built-in directional antennas, allows that make its connection from that residence or business to the base station and has the ability to compensate for obstructions in the way. As you can see, the trees, buildings, or even mountains or hills have that clear line of sight to be able to broadcast a signal and less interference. And again, from a 5 or even in 20 miles distance. The built-in radio and antenna configuration from the wireless chipset has 4 radios, 4 antennas in most cases, which uses spatial streaming across, so multiple sending and receiving paths. And in some cases, up to 580 megabits of performance. And that's due to the internal mechanisms built into the system with the 2 carrier aggregation. That allows for multiple frequencies and combining them to what we essentially call channel bonding of those wireless signals and allowing for higher throughputs. And all this is done over the CBRS in that band 48. When you're building off the grid, there's no ability of internet or power, no problem. You can still set up a remote LTE CBRS system and connect to the base station over a remote connection. And in this example here, we're using solar. Solar power is connecting into a remote cabinet that is attached to an LTE CBSD device, CPE, connecting into a gateway, and then from there feeding off that connection that way. And those remote applications, especially like forest, where they want to monitor and track what's going on in remote locations, they can do that. And they have full access to Wi-Fi internet as well as the spectrum broadband of the CBRS. And again, in most cases, up to 20 miles in distance. For business application inside the office, you have the ability of a failover system. So at the branch office, you have an access gateway with multiple WAN interconnections. And from there, if the main internet connection goes down off the wired line, it can fail over automatically to the CBRS and the outdoor CPE. That way it can keep the connection alive, continue to support the office workers until that main connection comes up. Once that main connection comes up, then that branch access gateway will automatically switch over off the LTE and the CBRS into that main connection. Outdoor CBRS deployments are fairly simple because the enclosure built in helps protect it against the weather. IP68 rated, so it does have that good protection against the elements. And once you set up the device, you don't have to worry about removing it or tearing it down and then setting it back up at a later date. It's fully protected with a Ethernet port with the PoE option built into it on the protective gland, as well as the on and off button for the Wi-Fi, which we'll talk about, as well as the SIM card. All the CBRS devices do support a SIM card option and a LED, which has also a reset button. And it's a protective enclosure on this device, so that way it's, again, protected from the elements. Connect to any Ethernet gateway. Very simple. From the outside, you're not going to have really a good connection, maybe wireless going in from out. To ensure a better connection, we provide an Ethernet cable that allow you to have that routed within the home or business, and then connect to any router that supports an Ethernet RJ45 internet connection. Plug the 2 in, and you can have that wireless CBRS connection coming in through that CPE and then connecting into your Wi-Fi home network. Bridging the two together is very simple from that Ethernet cable, and then very simple setup in a bridged or routed modes for your internal home gateway. In a bridge mode, we just use a standard gateway, and it helps with the easy setup and interconnect all your Wi-Fi devices within the home or small business. In the routed mode, gives you the full features of router options with the firewall and NAT protection, and you simply feed that same connection into, instead of a home gateway, you're using a Wi-Fi mesh system like an extender to help propagate that signal across throughout the home. All this is done over the PoE, so without having to put a power outlet on top of the home or the business, you can use just a standard Ethernet cable and provide the data and power over that same cable. Once it goes into that premise, then split off with the included power injector that helps provide that and separate the power that goes to the outlet, and then just pure data comes out of that device, the injector, into your home gateway. The local management is done as well with 11N Wi-Fi. So you ask yourself, why do you have Wi-Fi for management and not for public use? Because the Wi-Fi here is just for convenience for the operators to go in and manage this device on a local format. Here we encourage that you obviously going to plug in a secondary source, a home gateway with higher, more robust Wi-Fi and improve the performance of that CBRS connection instead of using the internal Wi-Fi. So the internal Wi-Fi can use for management of the device on a local setup. You can use a mobile device like a laptop, tablet, or even a smartphone. It has a user interface that conforms to that device's screen. So no longer do you have to pinch or move the screen to be able to get into it and type into it. It conforms to your specific device. This Wi-Fi connection is wireless N300 and does support WPA2 for protection and wireless security as well. And we do include a LTE Li app that helps you find that base station tower. Essentially, you just kind of use it as a compass to point and find the direction. That way you can set your outdoor LTE CBRS CPE in the right direction and not have to really try to spot and hunt and use other tools to be able to find that connection. With the Spectrum Access System, the SAS, we do have support for that and all the Category A and Category B devices for those tiers. We currently work with major vendors of SAS systems. That way ensures the ability to interconnect with those systems and have the communication to report in. As well as a built-in SAS agent also helps these devices allow it to speed up the communication from one point to another in different SAS networks that are across the nation. So taking a look at an indoor, what is the indoor device in this EDU? So the big benefits, again, as well as we know, the alternative to wireline connections, and it helps with those rural and underserved applications for providing a broadband connection. Great distances, anywhere from 5 to 10 miles in distance, and the EDU device, which we'll talk about, the end user devices, don't require SAS certification or registration because they connect to that third tier and allow you to connect, again, essentially to like a unlicensed wireless network. The great benefit about an indoor device, they can be actually sent out to your subscribers as a self-install. It's a very simple setup. They just put in the SIM card, place it somewhere conducive for a wireless connection, and plug in the power. They're ready to go. And it does support the local and the remote management options for that serving area. That way you can maintain that subscriber's experience. So the great applications here, single family environment, also in multi-dwelling, have the option. Maybe in some cases, providers can't set foot on that property because it's owned by someone else. They can provide this unit and actually have that subscriber self-install in a multi-dwelling. Easy to install and set up, easy steps and pop in the SIM card, and an excellent solution for remote working as well as what we see nowadays in our new reality e-learning environment. So that indoor CBRS device deployment, very simple. It uses a different antennas, not the directional ones that we talked about before, omnidirectional. So with it in that LTE CBRS area, it can pick up the signal, and then you just relay that off to your residential home gateway. Again, in this example, we're using a Wi-Fi 6 dual band to be able to provide the home networking that we usually accustomed to in a wired line environment. So this device really has great performance, up to 580 megabits in that connection. Utilizes that band 48, so fully supporting the CBRS. Also supports multiple APs. So just like you would on your mobile device, it can roam around to the best signal and select a different AP. You can also, providers can lock it into a specific tower so it won't do that, and make sure that they don't go to some other provider's network. And again, easy support, 3 different SIM card types that can be supported and placed in the bottom foot of this device as a self-install. Indoor use with 1 gigabit port. So you can see from this example, we can connect it to a home gateway and provide that connectivity to all those other devices within the home or office. We do support the 2 configurations that we just outlined before, that bridged or routed mode, depending on how your setup is and what type of equipment you have or your subscriber is going to use. They can either set up with a home gateway in the bridge mode or in a routed option with a Wi-Fi extender. We're part of the CBRS Alliance in OnGo. So you say, what is that? What does it do? So CBRS Alliance is an organization that helps promote the CBRS products and allow you to have the best choice in deciding what products you want to use. The OnGo is a certification program that ensures that all the architecture and products that are working together, interoperability, in one cohesive network. So if you do purchase like a base station that's OnGo, and you do purchase a CBRS, CBSD, or EDU device, it's going to allow you to interconnect with these devices with minimal interop required. To manage a lot of this, you look for some sort of cloud-based support, and the ability of managing those LTEs, the CPEs that are deployed throughout the nation. You want to be able to have access in those and make sure that your subscribers have an optimal online fixed wireless access experience. Using LTE Cloud Management and a simple dashboard that gives you a snapshot view of what's going on with all your LTE devices. A secured cloud connection. Zero touch means you don't have to actually be there. This can actually be done throughout the whole system without having any real intervention from the subscriber or yourself. See all your devices on the network side, as well as the cellular information, which is very applicable, and allows you to upload and manage firmwares and configurations. You can even schedule this out to happen during off hours of usage. That way it doesn't interrupt everybody. And the biggest thing is the analytic data that can provide you with information about your subscriber's environment. If there's issues with the connection, or they say it's very slow, you can essentially dial back in time 2-3 weeks to see what happened and pinpoint those issues and point them out to the subscriber and offer the prescribed solution for them to get them up and running. So we'll take a look at some available resources. Visit the FCC site. There's a lot of good information there about wireless and LTE and CBRS, as well as the auction. The Wireless Innovation Forum is a great source of information, especially pertaining to CBRS and its development. The 3GPP is the organization who's proposing all these mobile device and technologies like LTE and CBRS. Also, go to the CBRS Alliance.org and you get a lot of information about certifications, what products are available, the events, also the OnGo certification program. Also, with the Spectrum Access Systems, you can visit CommScope, Google as a Spectrum Access System, as well as Federated Wireless. More information about our products, you can visit Zyxel.com, and the product information about our outdoor LTE CPE, the indoor LTE CPE for CBRS. There you can get data sheets, user's guides, descriptions, the specifications, and images. Thank you very much for taking the time and interest in this presentation and in our session. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at broadband@zyxel.com. Thank you very much. Have a great day.